All right, guys, who is ready to talk some NBA? We got 3 games to go over. 3, projected to be pretty good games. I'm excited to watch these ones. Late game should be a good one. I'm excited to watch Dallas, Atlanta. Should be more exciting than the NFL game for sure. But yeah, guys, again, general Q&A live stream. So make sure to leave questions in the chat. Let me know, 1v1s, 2v2s, stuff like that. I can definitely answer. But yeah, really hoping that players I target don't get in massive foul trouble or into random blowouts. That would be nice. But yeah. Again, make sure to leave some questions in the chat. Hit the like button. That does help me out. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already too. So let's get into it. I guess really quick, we'll talk about the news, obviously, from Milwaukee. So 2 guys who expected to be in are out in Drew Holiday and Brolo. Now, we're still waiting on the starting lineup, but Milwaukee's going to be thin. I believe they're going to have 10 available players. So, yeah, it's going to be a thin roster. We'll see what they do. Do they start S-Man by the center? Do they start small? Like, maybe they could start Giannis at the 5? Or, like, they move Thanasis in the start? Like, they can do a couple of things. I would guess S-Man Sandro starts at the 5, but like he also got abused when he was out there last game. So, and if he does start, like Bam and Adebayo's probably gonna eat his lunch. So again, we'll see. I'm not sure exactly what they do. I think they could do a couple different things here, but obviously there's gonna be value for Milwaukee with the roster being pretty thin today. Okay, so S-Man season, yeah. If he starts, I think he makes for a good value. If he comes out the bench, it's obviously a lot riskier. How many bucks is too many available? Every available player is good. Yeah, so like they're gonna have 10 available players by my count. It's a 3-game slate, so like you can load up, but there's also value in other teams. So like I don't think you necessarily have to go crazy and play like $5 in every lineup. But I would say you probably want to get to at least one like value play in each. That's what I would say. Bledsoe, he's at a tricky price point. I don't think I can do it. Yeah, he's at 6K. They did say they want to have one of Reggie or Bledsoe on the court in all times. I do think these Clippers guys are going to go a little bit lower owned, right? Because the Clippers are also pretty thin. Like I'm guessing they're going to run a 9-man rotation. So, yeah, it's tough for me to prioritize Bledsoe. Not saying he can't have an upside game, but it's hard for me to feel really good about that. He also didn't look great in the preseason. Now it's tough because the Clippers rotation, I don't know what's going to be like because we really didn't see a dress rehearsal game. So, yeah, that's a tough part there. Nwora or Allen, it's a good question. We'll see what they do the starting lineup. Either way, I think both guys probably push for like 30 minutes. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough because both are going to get a lot of shot attempts up. Maybe the smallest of leans to Nwora, but like that's not a strong take. George Hill. Yeah, so George Hill is going to get a good amount of run. Now, I don't think George Hill has a ton of upside, but he's probably going to start and play 25 to 30 minutes, I think is a pretty fair guess. Like, how many minutes did he play last game once Drew went down? Because I know I'm pretty sure he started the second half. So he played 23 minutes total. He had 5 fouls, 1.5 boards, 3 assists. But yeah, he's still cheap, and I expect him to start at the point guard. What else? Hill starting? I think so. Yeah, I think Hill starts for Drew. Now, what they do at the 5, I think is more in question. Like, they could maybe start small. Maybe they move Sandro in the starting lineup. Dusty, George Hill, or Brunson. George Hill definitely is dust, but if he starts, I think he's going to be, the more optimal play. I think Brunson would be the ownership play. I'm thinking Brunson's going to be a pretty big part of that rotation off the bench, and Brunson's like a solid point per minute guy. He can kind of do it all. So I think Hill will probably still be your safer option, but I don't mind going to Brunson in tournaments. Awesome, you're early. Yeah, wanted to get an early one out there for sure. What's your take on Middleton over owned? I never look at ownership, so I don't know, but I would think he's definitely going to get some at his respective price, right? Because where is he at? He is 7.3. Like he's going to be their clear number 2 now with Drew Holiday out. I think he makes for one of the best plays in the mid-range. I'm not sure what his ownership is, but I think he looks really good in the mid-range. Bucks all the way. Yeah, you're going to want some Bucks exposure. How much is up to you, but you're going to want some, I would say. Thoughts on fitting Luka, Giannis, and Curry into the same lineup and then value? Yeah, stars and scrubs, I think it's perfectly in play, right? Because there's a lot of value for the Bucks. There's some value in other teams, too, that you can go to for, ownership. So I think that stars and scrubs build is going to be more popular than the balance build. And just because of all the stars in the slate, and now the value's opening up, too. Good question. SMAM or Hartenstein? So if SMAM starts, I think we got to go there, Sandro. However, Sandro doesn't start. I'm a little bit worried about his minutes. So then it would be pretty much a coin flip with those two because I'd be worried about both minutes. I'm worried about Hartenstein's minutes because Golden State's a small ball team. So like I talked about in the YouTube video, I'm like, there's still a chance Hartenstein gets a DNP. I don't think there's a guarantee he plays. I think he does. But they could also, Clippers could go small. They could play Marcus Morris at the 5. They did that a lot last year. They could play Justice Winslow at the 5. So S-Man would be the safer target for sure if he starts. If both come off the bench, then they're both a risk. Because, again, Sandro did not look good when he was out there last game. Like, he got abused. With Giannis and Doncic, could you prioritize Chris over Porzingis? Yes, that's also a good question because then you'd be playing like two kind of stars from one team if you go Giannis and Chris or Doncic and Porzingis. I think Middleton gets more ownership, but I'm fine going to Porzingis. I think Porzingis might be lower owned than he should be now. He looked really good in the preseason, and I think people are just going to have that memory from the playoffs where he was awful and injured, obviously. And Porzingis is terrible now. Again, you got to have short-term memory for DFS, so like that one's really close. I would guess Middleton gets more ownership now, but like, yeah, that's a good question. Same price in FanDuel, Reggie Jackson or Herter for GPP. It's going to be Reggie by a pretty wide margin for me. I don't like that price on Herter. The secondary options for the Hawks are hard for me to prioritize. Maybe guys like Hunter and Reddish a little bit easier to get to, but like, yeah, Herter, Bogdanovic at like 6K, I can't really see myself going there. Showdown, Porzingis, captain with Trey. Let's see, you got Capella. Okay, I mean that looks decent. I don't think a lot of people go Porzingis in the captain the Showdown. I think they're either going to go Luka or Trey. But yeah, I do think Porzingis is underpriced on the slate. Now, just because I think he's underpriced doesn't mean, I'm for sure going to play him because going to mid-range at a slate like this with a lot of value now opening up again, it's kind of hard, right? Because it kind of almost forces you on the stars and the scrubs. But yeah, there's, again, a few guys in the mid-range. Obviously, we talked about Porzingis and Middleton. Both look good. As Luka and Brunson, that's fine, yeah. Because like Brunson, I expect, in their dress rehearsal game in the preseason, it was Brunson, Cauley Stein, and Maxi Kleber, the first guys off the bench. So I would expect Brunson to play somewhere in that 15 to 20 minute range. At only 3.5K, that's perfectly fine. He doesn't need a lot to pay off the salary. I do think ownership's going to be a lot lower on Brunson now because of all that Bucks value, right? So yeah, that's perfectly fine with me. Are there any updates on? Last time I checked Bucks, there wasn't anything on PrizePicks. Let's see, is it up now? Okay, we only have Giannis, right? We have Giannis and Middleton. Yeah, I was looking for those, I wanted those value guys on here, but I'm not seeing them. Are there more on the single stat? See, I'm not a big fan of doing the single stat. Yeah, so they have content added here. I prefer going to over-under on fantasy points. That's just me. So, yeah, maybe they'll add some more in the fantasy point or fantasy score one, but yeah, right now it's stay away. How do you feel about Winslow? I think Winslow's sneaky. I think there's a chance you could play some small ball 5, right? Because Golden State's a small ball team. So that's why I'm a little bit worried about Hartenstein's minutes. So that's why I think it's a risk. But, I'm pretty sure Justice Winslow's going to be in the rotation. Almost positive. And, yeah, if they do go small ball 5, I think he could play some small ball 5 on it. Him or Marcus Morris when Zubac is not out there. So I think Winslow, it makes for really sneaky tournament play today. I don't know exactly, again, rotation, Paul George, Reggie, Bledsoe, Morris, Zubac, man. That's 6 guys I know are going to be in the rotation. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be Winslow, Kennard, Hartenstein behind that. But, all right, so how many minutes does it leave for Winslow? Well, if it's a 9-man rotation, it's going to leave some decent minutes, especially if they don't play Hartenstein much. So I think Winslow's a sneaky play. I kind of like him for value. Pick 2. Yeah, so I think the 2 optimal are the first 2. Porzingis or Bam? A good question. I think for this, so that's a tough one. If they start Sandro S-Mam at the 5, then I think you can definitely make the argument for Bam, because Bam should be able to have his way there. So I'll say Porzingis as it stands right now, but that's close, especially if they start Sandro. I think that's a pretty big boost for Bam. Moses Brown viable. I don't know how many minutes he plays. In their dress rehearsal game, he wasn't really in the first kind of rotation or like first subs. Now they could run 3 centers tonight, but like I'm probably just gonna wait and see on that. I would feel better about Cauley Stein and Dwight Powell than Moses Brown. Trey and Giannis over Luka and Giannis. I feel like there's definitely gonna be less ownership on Trey. So if you want to go to Trey for ownership, perfectly fine. Like Trey he can go for 70. His floor is a lot lower than Luka, so Luka's gonna look more optimal. But GPPs, that's perfectly fine. Values for the late game. So yeah, like Golden State, I think Bielitsa's going to get some ownership. I think Damian Lee looks decent. And the Clippers guys, there's a lot of viable options here. Like Mann, Winslow, Kennard, Hardenstein. I think the Clippers, I think you could see 1 or 2 of these value Clippers in the winning lineup. Again, we're kind of guessing though on how the rotation is going to go for the Clippers, because we didn't see anything in the preseason because they just played like 16 guys every single game. Luka or Giannis already have Middleton and Bucks value. So if you already have Middleton and the Bucks value, it's probably a lean to Luka. Ooh. Sorry about that. For value between Mann, Connaughton, and Allen, yeah, that's really close for me. Kind of depends how many other Bucks you have. If you're already loaded up on the Bucks, say you already have like maybe 3 or 4 Bucks in your lineup, then you probably go Mann. If you only have 1 or 2, then probably a small lean to Allen there. So depends on who else is in your lineup. Allen Noah and Reddish and Poole value plays. All are in play for me. Yeah. I don't know. Are you asking like 2v2 there? Luka, Curry, and Greek Freak together. You can make it work. You can play 3 stars in the slate for sure. A lot of value plays. Yeah. Yeah. DeLon Wright. Knowing like Trae Young will get injured and Lou Williams won't play and DeLon Wright will smash somehow. Hill or Allen. Yeah, so that's a good question. I think the upside is probably a little bit higher in Grayson Allen if you can hit his shots. So if you're shooting for that upside, Allen, safer option might be George Hill if he starts, but if you want that upside, I think Grayson Allen has more upside than George Hill. Showdown Porzingis, captain with Trey. Yeah, that's fine with me. Hero or Hardaway? Good question. I'm going to lean Hero. I'm pretty high in Tyler Hero this season. I think he bounces back after a really disappointing year last year. So I'll go Hero there. Both are going to be somewhat reliant on the scoring. Both have upside if they can knock down their shots, but I think a lean to Hero there. Is Zubac a good play? Yes. I do like Ivica Zubac. He's only 5K. I would think he probably plays at least 20 minutes. And like, Zubac is a pretty good point per minute guy. And the only guy behind him really is Hartenstein if they even give him minutes. So, yes, I do like Zubac. Mavs value? The Mavs value is riskier. But, yeah, you have guys like Brunson and the backup centers I think are in play as contrarian plays. I don't know if I consider anyone else. I don't like playing Reggie Bullock. I think he'll be in the rotation. Sterling Brown might be in the rotation. Again, Moses Brown, he might be in the rotation. But I would say all the Dallas value is probably more GPP plays. Brunson or Hill or Kennard. Yeah, so like the safe option is going to be George Hill if he starts. Terrence Mann or Connaughton. That's another good question. That one's pretty close. I think Connaughton's going to get more ownership based on the last game. So if that is the case, if Connaughton's going to be way more popular than Terrence Mann, then give me Terrence Mann for GPPs. But I'm not sure how the ownership's going to shake out. Usually when someone like Connaughton has a really big game, he goes over-own the next slate. So just, tournament mindset thinking, if that is the case, I'm just going to lean the other way. Butler or Middleton, kind of depends what the rest of your roster looks like. You're going to want some Bucks exposure. If you're kind of thin on Milwaukee, then go Middleton. If you're already loading up on them, then I think you go Butler there. Because I don't know if I want to play like 5 Bucks tonight. Right? I think that might be pushing it. Kennard or Powell. I think the upside is higher in Kennard. However, I'm not confident in his minutes. If Dwight Powell starts, he's going to be the safer option. But I think Kennard is more upside. Like, I don't think Dwight Powell is going to play like 25 minutes tonight, right? I think him and Cauley Stein probably get like 15 minutes each. Maybe Moses Brown gets a shift. Maybe they'll play some Porzingis at the 5. So I don't really see the huge upside on Powell. You could see an upside game from Kennard if he hits the shots. However, the minutes, what are we going to get, right? That's the question mark there. Winslow going to play? I'm pretty sure he does. Again, I think there's a chance they could run some small ball 5 with him or Marcus Morris. So if you just look at like the guys in the roster, I'm pretty sure Justice Winslow is going to be in the rotation. And there were a couple surprises last slate of guys not being in the rotation, right? You had Thad Young for the Spurs, just didn't play. Enes Kanter not playing was a really big surprise too without Al Horford. So you never know. Coaches sometimes do stuff that you don't agree with. I would be pretty. I'm pretty sure Winslow will be in the rotation though. Zubac and Allen are. Yeah, it depends on the starting lineup there for Sandro. So I'll say the first is the stands right now. Luka, Poole, Nwora, Giannis, Hardenstein, Steph, Kennard, Hill. Perfectly fine with that. Lowry pivot off the big 3 guards. I think the way you go to Lowry is ownership. He definitely doesn't look optimal at that price, being price basically the same as Jimmy and Bam. You have other stars that look really good. So Lowry can still go for 50 fancy points. But it's, again, going to be a lot more rare than some other guys in the slate if you played it out like 100 times. So the only reason I think you go to Lowry is ownership. He'll be very low owned. He is definitely overpriced. But not saying you can't get there. And if you get a 5% Lowry and he has one of those ceiling games where he goes for 50, then you're in really good shape for GPPs. But more often than not at that price point, he's going to bust. Other Antetokounmpo. Yeah, so Thanasis Antetokounmpo. We'll see what they do with the starting lineup. I think there's an outside chance that maybe they start him kind of at the 5 and go small. If that is the case, then I think you can make the argument for him. However, he saw way less minutes than some other values, right? George Hill played way more, Nwora played way more, Grayson Allen played way more. So we'll kind of see what they do with the starting lineup. If he does start, then yeah, I have some consideration there. Would it be okay to play Zubac over Bam? I've been seeing like straight up or what? Like point per dollar, Zubac looks good. But like straight up, if you have the salary for Bam, it's obviously going to be Bam. Still pissing Mike Malone. That's just dumb, right? Obviously, I was tilting that for the showdown slate, like not the main. I was going to play Bones in the main slate, but like says he's going to be for sure in the regular rotation. Just a straight up lie. Like why? Why even say that? It doesn't make any sense. Is it best to pay down with Bucks and pay up for pieces like Curry and Luka? I think it's going to be a popular build. Now, will that be like the highest scoring lineup? I don't know, but I think it's going to be pretty popular. Curry, Porzingis, Poole, or Paul George, Bam, and Lee for FanDuel? Yeah, that's a good question. It's going to be the first by a pretty wide margin for me. Bam or Middleton, price doesn't matter. It's probably Middleton now, but that's close, right? Because if they start Sandro at the 5, like Bam should be able to have his way. Nwora or Pat, I think the upside is higher on Nwora. But that's pretty close too. Not playing Doncic or Giannis tonight, scared LOL. You're fading both. That's a risk. Yeah, Hero or Poole. Another good question. I think they're both really similar. I think both play 25 to 30 minutes. I'll say Poole, but that's close. Favorite center 4.8K. Bielitsa. Bielitsa's center eligible. So yeah, Bielitsa 4.6. Reggie Jackson sneaky play. I don't think he's going to be super popular. Should be the number 2 on offense behind Paul George. Only 6K. He obviously flashed some upside in the playoffs. So as a contrarian play, I think Reggie's fine. Just straight up under 4.4K. It's going to be the Bucks guys. You got to make some tough calls, but yeah. So Constant's 4.5. So you have Allen at 4.4. I think he looks really solid. And then those other guys we mentioned, Nwora, George Hill. It's going to be, those guys look good. Giannis or Curry? Straight up, not considering ownership, Giannis, right? Giannis has a higher floor, higher ceiling and stuff. But there is a way Giannis could fail. Miami's a solid defense. But yeah, 10.3K for Giannis, that's very tempting. You play showdowns and multi-game slates. I'll play the late showdown usually. Yeah, so I'll break that down on Patreon, the late game showdown, kind of where I'm thinking. Yeah, so I usually just play the late showdown. I don't really play the early showdowns just because I just don't have time to play those. Hunter or Mann, I'll go Terrence Mann between those two. All right, guys, we're over 200 viewers, 43 likes. Can we get to maybe 80 likes before I get out of here? I'll be live for another 10 minutes. So, yeah, if you enjoyed, make sure to hit that like button. It does help me out. Winslow, Kennard, Middleton, Giannis, Capella, man. It's Contrarian. Capella's hard to... If he's... Keep an eye on the news because they were limiting him in the preseason a bit with that Achilles. I think there's a chance maybe they limit his minutes to start, kind of like they're doing with Draymond and Wiggins. So the way you go to Capella's ownership, he's going to be low owned, but yeah, I think there's some other guys in the mid range that probably look better than him. Patsy Overpool for salary saving. I think Pat Connaughton's fine. My only concern with him is he shot really well last game, so he might be higher owned than he should. But then again, it's like, all right, this Bucks roster is super thin, and Pat Connaughton's going to get big minutes. So yeah, Luka and Young for GP is how I'm going tonight. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, Man or Grayson Allen. It's a good question. So kind of comes down to how many Bucks you're playing, I'll say. If you have a lot of Bucks, go Man. If you're thin on the Bucks, I think you go Grayson Allen. DeAndre Hunter, I'm just fine with him and Cam Reddish. I collected Milwaukee. So Atlanta, yeah, they're at least playable because the price point's 4.7 for Hunter, 3.9 for Reddish. In all honesty, though, on a main slate, I almost never play these Atlanta wings. I just don't trust them. But those would be the two wings I would look to. I'm not paying $6K for Bogdanovich or Herter. I'm just not doing it. So those two, the two cheap wings for Atlanta are at least viable. But I just never one of those guys is gonna have a good game. I always have a tough time, trying to decide which one's gonna be. What do you think about Dedmon? Right now, nothing more than Contrarian play. He'll play the backup 5, probably play 10 to 15 minutes. So, yeah, he's a good point per minute guy, but I think there's other value that looks better. Right now, you go there just for ownership. Taking George, Curry, and Trey some big 3 for tonight. Okay, how do you feel about John Collins, Contrarian play? I think there's better plays in the mid-range. Thoughts on... Okay, we went over Dedmon, Winslow, Kennard. Okay, thoughts on Kennard. In play for tournaments, I'm not sure how many minutes he plays, but, I'm thinking he's probably going to play at least mid-teens, maybe more. He does have upside, has to hit his shots, though. Very reliant on the scoring. DK $100 tournament already filled, 20K. Yeah, DK, it's filling quickly. It's filling very quickly. I think they got to make some tournaments bigger. Which is better, Trey Captain, Doncic, Capella, Porzingis, Hunter, and Powell, or the Porzingis Captain one? I don't have a super strong take on either of those. Dedmon in play is Contrarian value. I think 10 to 15 minutes off the bench. Butler, Paul George. If you have the salary, it's Paul George. Noor or Pat. It's pretty much a coin flip, but I'll go nowhere there. Thoughts on Bjelica? I like him. He'll run the backup, or he'll run kind of the second unit. He's going to handle the ball a decent amount. So I like him again. I think the ownership's going to go way up. We're not going to get him at 15% like we did last slate, but I still think he's a solid play. You think Miami blows out Milwaukee? I think it's at least possible. Yeah, without Drew and Lopez, I think you could. Yeah, I think that's at least in consideration. Hero viable for cash. I like him more for tournaments. I think. How do you feel about Luka, man? Sandro, yeah, no issues. Can you fade all the stars? Meaning going balanced? I probably wouldn't. I picked the 20K tournament way better because of the less people. Yeah, at least for me, roster or entering tournaments, I always I'll enter the big one, the big $10 or $15 one, 100K to first, and then I just go to low entry or high stakes single entry, small field GP. Sorry, I can't talk. Let's see. Capella's in Bones. Yeah, don't get me started with that. Just a straight up lie from Mike Malone. What do you get out of that? Yeah, are you talking about Trey Burke? I'm not sure if Trey Burke's going to be in the rotation. Winslow, Kennard at the same price on FanDuel. I think Winslow does more of the per fill stats, so if they play the same minutes, they're probably going to feel better about Winslow. But again, the bench rotation for the Clippers, we don't know exactly how it's going to go. Bjelica or Grayson Allen. Again, kind of depends how many Bucks you have. Yeah, Mike Malone, exactly. Butler, Middleton, already have Giannis, Grayson Allen, Noor. I don't have any other Miami players. Then that's a close one, right? Then it might be Butler there, but Middleton still looks really good, obviously without Drew Holiday. Lou Williams playing, okay. Trae Young always plays good a majority of the time. Trae Young, he has upside. The floor is a little bit lower on him, but the last preseason game he played, he went for 60 fantasy points in 3 quarters. Looney thoughts, it's just not really an upside play. On the 3-game slate, I want to shoot for upside. He's not going to be in the closing lineup. He probably only plays 15 to 20 minutes. So, yeah, minutes limit for Clint. Okay, that's kind of what I expected, yeah. How about John Collins? I think there's other plays in the mid-range that look better. But with Clint on a minutes limit, I think he's at least in consideration now. Morris, Clippers, or Bledsoe. I don't love either. I guess the price of Morris, 3,100 Hartenstein. So Hartenstein's a risk. If you play Isaiah Hartenstein, you got to know there's a chance he plays very limited minutes or gets a DNP. So if you play him, that's the risk, right? Because the Clippers could technically go small ball behind Zubac. Now, what I think happens, I would think Hartenstein plays the backup 5 and plays 10 to 15 minutes. If that is the case, he's a really solid point per minute guy and it makes him in play. However, again, there's a risk, right? Moses Brown, I'm not sure is in the rotation. I'm pretty sure Powell's going to start and Cauley Stein's going to back him up based on what we saw in their dress rehearsal game. So Moses Brown, I'm going to take a wait and see. I'm not going to play him tonight. Does Okafor or Hartenstein play? Hartenstein, I think, has a decent chance to play. Thoughts on DeAndre Hunter? Viable value play for the Hawks. He's easier to get to than Bogdanovic and Herter. Is it okay to go Steph over Luka for tournaments? Yeah. And Paul, yeah, tournaments, yeah. You can make the argument to fade the, kind of two optimal spend-ups. I think Zubac splits minutes tonight. I think Zubac plays mid-20s. I think 20 to 25, which makes him firmly in play. Thoughts on Damian Lee for sure and play for value? I would think more often than not Jordan Poole closes over him, but yeah, Damian Lee almost played 30 minutes last game, so he's definitely in play. What about Paul George? Yeah, haven't talked about Paul George a lot. Without Kawhi Leonard, I think he's a good spend-up. I don't think he's going to be super popular with some other stars in the slate, but he's going to be their clear guy, play 35 minutes. It's a good matchup against Golden State. I'm perfectly fine going to Paul George. Hartenstein, Bjelica, or Zubac and Noir. The second one is way safer than the first one. Again, Hartenstein, it's a high-risk, high-reward play. So it depends if you want to take that risk. And DK, Luka, Terrence Mann, Otto. I don't think I play Otto Porter. Based on what we saw last game, Otto only played 10, 12 minutes, whatever it was. They played Iguodala over him. They played Dusty Iguodala. They played Juan Toscano Anderson over Otto Porter. It makes no sense. In my opinion, I think Otto Porter's a really solid player still in this league. He's not a star, but he's a solid role player. I think he should be playing big minutes off the bench like Bjelica. He looked good in the preseason, but Steve Kerr, for some reason, didn't play Otto Porter a lot. So right now, I can't go there at that price. Winslow, Kennard, Middleton, Giannis, Zubac, Hero, Hunter. Yeah, I have no issue. Let's see. Hartenstein in play, yes. Risky play, though. Reggie Jackson, viable. I think he'll be the number 2 option for the Clippers. He does have upside. So, yeah, Collins or Porzingis. I think it's got to be Porzingis there. I think people overreact from last year's postseason. But, yeah, I do like Porzingis. How do you feel about John Collins, Capella, and minutes limit? It makes him in play. I still don't think he's like a plug-and-play, but makes him more viable. He'll play some probably small ball 5. Winslow, Kennard, Middleton, Giannis. Yeah, so again, you're taking some risk on some of those Clippers guys, but I think it's fine. Good on DK. The only thing I will say there, though, is you have no Bucks value. I think that's a mistake. $4 too much. I think that's fine. I think you can make that work. The Bucks are going to be thin, right? What do you think about so Sandro, if he starts, I think he's a good value. If he doesn't start, it's a risk. Moses Brown in single game. I'm not sure if he plays. You can roll the dice on him. I'm almost positive they're going to start Powell. They're going to start Powell and Cauley Stein comes to the bench. So I'm not sure if he plays. Fanduel, Young, Allen, or Giannis, Porzingis, Bjelica. No, I think that's perfectly fine. Fanduel, Doncic, Poole, Hero, Middleton, Connaughton, Noir. Yeah, that looks good to me as well. Thanasis in play. If he starts, I like Thanasis a lot more. I think there's an outside chance they start small and maybe start a guy like Thanasis at the 5. Porzingis or Bam, it's a good question. A small lean to Porzingis, but that's close. If they start Sandro, if the Bucks start Sandro, then Bam should be able to feast against him. He should. Steph or George with Luka and Giannis. So I think George would probably slightly safer play. I think Steph is the upside play, but yeah. Fade Giannis and DK, you can. It's risky. It's risky for his price. 10.3K is definitely underpriced for Giannis. But with all the good value in the Bucks, I think you can at least make the argument for it. Damian Lee or Brunson? It's a good question. It depends on what that Mavs bench rotation's like. I'll say Damian Lee right now because he played more minutes, or he played big minutes last game. And I don't think Iggy sits. It's not a back. If it was like a back-to-back, then maybe Iguodala sits. But no, I don't think he sits. Damian Lee. Damian Lee birthday narrative. All right. Content or man, again, depends on how many Bucks you have. If you have a lot of Bucks, then go man. If you're a little bit thinner on the Bucks, go Connaughton. Fade Giannis DK. You can in tournaments. He looks really good for his price, though. Would you play Cam Reddish in tourneys? Him and DeAndre Hunter are the viable cheap wings, I think, are at least in play. However, they're not must by any means. Would you play Middleton? I think you can play them both together. Yeah, without Drew, without Brook Lopez, Giannis and Middleton are going to dominate the usage. Probably both play 35 minutes in competitive games. So yeah, they look good. Max Truss thoughts? No, I don't think he's going to be in the rotation. He might. Let me just think about that for Miami. I mean, he was solid in the preseason, but I'm not sure he's in the rotation. All right, so Jimmy, Lowry, Bam, PJ, Tucker, and Duncan Robinson's the starting 5. So Hero's 6, Dedmon is the backup center at 7, Markieff Morris will be 8, then yeah, maybe like Struss or Gabe Vincent's the 9th man in the rotation. So he might play. But like I'm not going to go there on this slate. So Brunson or Lee. Yeah, I like Poole. I think Poole plays 25 to 30 minutes. He's going to be the number 2 option in offense. Oh, appreciate that. Yeah, we're at 68 likes. I can stay on for a minute or two. Let's try to get to 80. Appreciate you guys. Boban. I don't think Boban plays, but you never know. Again, the Mavs have like 5 centers. How do you feel about Jordan Poole? I think he's a solid play. He rolled his ankle, but looks like he's good to go. He's going to be the number 2 on offense behind Steph Curry. And I was a little bit surprised he didn't close. I would say more often than not he closes instead of Damian Lee. Strong 4 PG, Luka, Collins, Middleton. I mean, that's fine. Any thoughts on Winslow? I think he's a sneaky play tonight. I think he'll go under-owned. There's a chance he plays some small ball 5 against a small Golden State team. So I kind of like Winslow as a sneaky play. Collins take more viable now with Capella on a limit, but definitely not a must play. Paul George or Curry. I think Paul George is slightly safer. Curry probably has a little more upside if he can hit his shots. Again, Steph shot like 5 of 21 and still won for like almost 60 fantasy points last game. Pick one: PJ Tucker, Dwight Powell, Thanasis. Already have Giannis Noor. I'll say Dwight Powell right now, assuming he starts. If Mam doesn't start, would you still like him? He would be pretty risky because he did not look good in the defensive end. So if he doesn't start, there's a chance he plays limited minutes. However, like he is a good point per minute guy. So like not like just fantasy basketball wise, like he's good, but real life basketball, not so much right now. He got destroyed on the defensive end. Hero, Zubac, Morris, utility. I think Zubac there. Content or Grayson Allen, pretty much a toss up. I guess Grayson Allen, but yeah, good to swap Hardenstein for Sandro. Yeah, if Sandro starts, I like him. Again, Hardenstein's a risk. Both would be a risk. Hardenstein's not going to start, but if Sandro doesn't start, he's a risk too, because he didn't play a ton last game because he couldn't do much on the defensive end. Reddish, Bjelica, or Kennard and Zubac. I'll say the second one. Curry, Poole, Lee, Hunter, Porzingis, Noor, Bam, Giannis. Okay, Kennard or Winslow. So I think Winslow does more of the peripheral stats, so I'll lean there. Bjelica to be over-owned. We'll see. He's going to be a lot more popular than last game. Ownership, I don't know. He was like 15 to 20% on a 2-game slate last game. I would say definitely more than that, maybe 30-ish%, maybe a little more. There's still a lot of other good value on the slate. Brunson, Hill, or Milton, Noor, Sandro. Yeah, no issue with that. Who is? Yeah, we'll go over that on Patreon, like must plays and game theory, all that stuff. Giannis or Luka for a spend up. Straight up, not considering ownership, Giannis. All right, guys, any last minute questions? Throw them in here. Appreciate you guys. We hit basically 250 concurrent viewers, 80 likes about. So thank you guys. Let's hope for a good night. Let's hope, again, knock on wood, no foul. I really hope that no one has to deal with severe foul trouble or blowouts. Knowing how NBA DFS goes. Where we all load up on Milwaukee and the Heat are going to blow them out and Giannis is going to play like 25 minutes. Giannis or Luka first. Yeah, okay, whatever. Answer that. Okay, so let's see. Luka being off-ball more. No, I don't think he's going to play off-ball more. He's going to handle the ball a ton. So I'm not sure Moses Brown plays. I think there's a chance he does, but like looking at the dress rehearsal game, it was Dwight Powell starting, Willie Cauley-Stein coming off the bench. And they also have Maxi Kleber too. So we'll see. I think there's a chance he could play, but like it's not a risk I'm willing to take on this 3-game slate. Hunter, viable, yeah. Powell or Hill. I'll say George Hill, assuming he starts. Because I don't think Powell's going to play big minutes, right? I think Powell starts. I think both him and Cauley-Stein probably get mid-teens, maybe 20 minutes. Best utility on 3.6K, you already have Hill and Brunson. Okay, I'll end on this. 3.6K utility, you already have Hill and Brunson. Let's see. So, I think Winslow looks pretty solid. Or, if you want to roll the dice on one of those centers and Hardenstein or Sandro if he starts, I think that's fine too. But I think Winslow's kind of intriguing. I'm guessing he's gonna be in the rotation. I guess there's no guarantee, but like looking at the Clippers roster and who they have, I'm pretty sure he's gonna have to play some minutes. Hey, what's up, EX? How's it going, man? Collins. Oh, okay. End on this actually. So Collins with Capella on a limit is viable. He'll play some more of 5, which kind of boosts his floor and ceiling. But, yeah, he's definitely not a must-play in the mid-range. All right, guys, I'm going to end it on that. Appreciate it. We were live for a good 35 minutes, so good luck tonight, guys. Let's hope for some big winners. And I'll see you guys back here tomorrow. I think we have a pretty big slate on Friday, so I'll see you guys all then.